We grew up asking for permission to take a piss. So the hesitation would make sense, wouldn't it? That we hesitate to give ourselves permission. That would make complete sense. We asked for permission to take a piss. We had to raise our hand and ask for permission to speak. Permission of who we could be friends with from our parents, right? What was okay to do, what was not okay to do, who to hang out with, who not to hang out with. All of this was permission based. External circumstances, people outside of us. So the hesitation would make sense. For the duration of this video, if you are able to sit through this whole video, which if you do, I respect that. That's a very uncommon attention span nowadays, right? But if you sit through the duration of this video, you don't have to believe anything. I'm not asking you to believe anything, convince you on something. But if you do sit through this video, I want you to keep this one thing in mind. Try to throw all of your beliefs, all of your stories about the way things are, out the window, just for the duration of this video, and keep an open mind. And I want you to keep this topic right here in mind, okay? This sentence. That reality is a tuning process of the mind. I want you to just contemplate that and keep that in mind for the duration of this video, okay? Because on the topic of reality creation, when we look around to religion, to science, to great leaders, to history, there's these common themes. In the Bible, for example, as within, so without. God is everywhere. God is in all things. Science says everything is energy. Energy is everywhere. The Kybalion, another great book of some ancient wisdom. All is mind, the universe is mental. That's one of the laws, it's one of the principles in the book. All is mind, the universe is mental. Nothing held back there, right? That's very, very straightforward. And you look at, not to mention the great teachers, leaders of history, talking about your power of your thoughts and your mind. What is it? Okay? It's like, why does it always come back to the mind? About a year and a half ago, I want to tell this story. And an experience that I had, hands-on. I want to tell you this story that about a year and a half ago, I started working with a coach. And I worked with this coach for about 4 months. And when I started working with this coach, at the time I was working on my digital marketing service. I do coaching work now. But at the time I was working on my digital marketing service for home service companies. And basically for these clients, I would help them run social media ads, and I'd help them book in more appointments for their home service business, right? So I wanted to take it to the next level. I wanted to keep improving on it. I wanted to earn more money, of course. And I got in contact with this coach, and it wasn't even digital marketing focused, really. It was more mindset focused. I resonated with this coach because he spoke about these topics of the subconscious mind, quantum physics, energy, frequency, vibration, reality creation, right? So I really resonated with this coach and what he was speaking on. And this coach inspired me for what I'm doing now. But when I started working with this coach, I was working on my digital marketing service. And an interesting thing happened when we began to dig into my internal world, right? Pull back some layers of the mind, going back to this permission basis, right? Limiting beliefs, my view on how things were, how things are, right? So we began to get into all these things. And within the first 2 months, within the first couple months of working with this coach, I had this point where I had a 2-week period where I signed like 4 more clients. And I want you to keep in mind, for an 8-month period, I only signed 1 client. Okay. So I was pushing, grinding, and it was like, it's like something wasn't clicking, right? So I was working, I was grinding, and for an 8-month period, I just signed 1 client. And then a couple months into working with this coach, I had this period where, a 2-week period where I signed 4 more clients. And I was working with 5 clients total. And I had this 1.5-month period where I made over 10K. And I thought, okay, interesting. Very interesting. And it struck that chord inside of me again, like, oh yeah, it's the internal thing. Right? As within, so without. The internal reflects the external. So I experienced that firsthand working with this coach, where it's like this 2-week period where it was like, and then I had these people reaching out to me for work. And it's like that sometimes. And I want to make this video for you because that may be your case right now. Maybe not. Maybe not. Right? Depends on who you are. Maybe you're a returning viewer. You know, you like watching these videos. But you may be working on something where it feels the same way, like it's just not clicking. And interesting things happen when we begin to pick apart the internal world. I had this client who I was working with too, where he's in the graphic design space and just getting set up online. But he was working for this other company, unrelated to graphic design, and within 2 weeks of working together, he had this company that he was working for reach out to him about a graphic design project. So there's these things that can happen that you can't really put a finger on it, but it's like reality kind of poking at you, nudging at you again. Coming back to these common themes, right? These pillars that are staked everywhere. As within, so without. All is mind, the universe is mental. Okay, everything is energy. Okay, God is everywhere. So for this video, you know, keeping in mind this topic, reality is a tuning process of the mind. Play around with that idea for yourself and notice how it keeps coming back to the mind, right? That the mind doesn't want to give you permission, like again and again and again, right? Notice that level of conditioning. And it's not good or bad, it's just the way we were brought up, right? But notice that conditioning of the mind telling you that no. That's not how it works. And how shutting these things down, right? Just keep that open. Keep that door open for yourself to experiment with that. That reality is a tuning process of the mind. What does a tuning process of the mind mean? How does that work? Run experiments with that on your own. And if you made it through this video, you clearly have a developed attention span, right? That's the reason why I make these unedited videos. But toy around with yourself and be persistent with it.